Hey, Queen City Minis and more fans, welcome back, folks. So guys, it is 2025. Let's talk about some great games you can get started. The first one we're going to start off with is Fallout Factions from Modiphius Games. So if you're not familiar with this game, or if you're a big fan, make sure you subscribe down below so you can keep up to date with all of our content, as well as follow all of our Fallout Faction coverage, which will be starting here in 2025. So definitely hit that subscribe button to keep up to date. Thank you so much for everyone who has subscribed already. Alright guys, so if you're interested in Fallout Factions, one of the best places to get some information from it is from the Modiphius website, or just type in Fallout Factions into Google. It'll bring you right to the site, and check out our show notes down below where I'll post a link to this too. But the designer for the game is James Hewitt. He did Adeptus Titanicus, Necromunda, which are two of my favorite Games Workshop games, so I was really excited for this game. So it uses a 10-sided dice and features a streamlined revolution system based off of like the special that you use in the Fallout Faction games. So Fallout Factions is great for both beginners interested in exploring miniatures games and veterans looking for fast, full of tactical nuance. Build your crew, select your plays, and watch your team grow into a legendary fighting force across multiple fast and furious PvP matches. So I definitely agree with this, guys. I have played a ton of this game in the past couple of months between my gaming group, and we absolutely love it because of a lot of things that are listed here. Now, it is a little bit different. It does use a 10-sided dice. It is a small crew game. A lot of times you're using 10 models or less, so it's a really easy buy-in game. But let's talk about some of the pros for this game. Alright guys, so whenever I look into gameplay of a game, I always look at the pros and the cons of that game. And if anybody tells you, hey, there's no cons to this game, they're a dirty liar. Alright, but guys, always look into these and make sure that if there are cons, they're cons you can live with or deal with, and if there are pros, they're the right pros for you. So I really like this game. It is a really, really fast gameplay game. You can play a couple of these games very quickly. Some of the games only last for 3 turns. Some go up to 5. It's kind of up to the mission itself, which is another thing I like, that certain missions have different time limits within them. Now, we are only in kind of the infancy of the game, so there are not a ton of missions out there, but there's some pretty cool ones out there that you can play. And within the campaign mode, depending on like who has the higher rating and some dice rolls, determines what missions you can play from. The model selection itself is great. It's based off of Fallout. Fallout is a huge IP that is solid, that has multiple video games, and has a lot of room for this game to really expand into. Currently, we have the Pack, the Disciples, and the Operators, which are in plastic. We're getting the survivals, or the survivalists like the Vault Dwellers, as well as Super Mutants and the Brotherhood of Steel here in plastic too for the game, which will be great additions. I also really like it because it's a small game. Okay, it comes on like a 3-foot by 2-foot mat. You get a ton of terrain in the starter set box, and it's actually funny. My buddy Derek, when we play this game at his house, he takes the starter box and he fills it with terrain, and that's the terrain we have for the game. That's kind of like his goal for this game, is like he just wants to have a ton of terrain within the starter set box itself, where we can build a ton of different tables and everything. And actually, it's a really good idea and really cool. And he has like a little plastic carrying case he uses for the models. So overall, this game has some great pros to it as well. But let's check out the cons. Now, as far as the cons go for this game, guys, as much as there's a ton of stuff to expand into, it does have a limited model range. The game is broken up into 2 separate games, both from Modiphius. So you have Fallout Wasteland Warfare, which is more like role-playing tactical game with a whole bunch of more complicated, difficult rules with cards and all these different colored dice. And it's a totally different beast to learn and play. Fallout Factions is a lot simpler, but at the same time, the range of models you can play with isn't as big. Now, they just did a lot of recent updates, and we got Zetans with a whole bunch of like followers and creatures and stuff. So the range is decent sized, but you're not going to be able to use all the models from the Wasteland Warfare game within Fallout Factions itself. And speaking of models, a lot of models for this game are resin. If you haven't worked with resin before, it can be a little brittle, especially smaller pieces. It has a release agent on it that they use in the molding process. So you're going to have to like wash your models. And yeah, I mean soap and water to wash your models to make sure they stick together well and that they get painted really easily. You're also going to run into issues with store availability. A lot of the stores may carry the 2-player starter set, which is a great way to get started. And we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But as far as expansions go, you may be limited to only buying through Modiphius's online store, or if you can find the product on Amazon, you can also get it there. So really keep that in mind when you expand into this game, is that, hey, my local store, I can buy the starter set, which is cool. And, I can buy one more gang, which they have in plastic, which is great. But if I want to expand past this, like if I want to get some dogs to go with my beast pack, I'm going to have to buy those online somewhere and bind them. Hey, they're going to be resin too, so I'm going to have to wash it and make them look good. So just be aware of that moving forward within the game itself. Overall, they're not big cons, but they're things to make sure you're aware of when you start this game. Alrighty guys, so you've looked in the pros, you looked into the cons, you looked at the models and went, hey, these look cool, I'm going to pull the trigger, I'm going to get Fallout Factions. This is what you're probably going to find in stores, and this is where you're probably going to get started most of the time. So this is Fallout Factions Nuka World. This is the first starter set out from Modiphius Games. It comes with a ton of stuff and is a fantastic deal. So it comes with 2 gangs. You get the Operators and the Beast Pack. Okay, 2 totally different games. Operators are more about shooting, where Beast Pack is more about like combat type stuff. You get the full rule book. It is a paperback book, so just keep that in mind. You get terrain. Guys, all the terrain you see on there comes in this box, okay? The buildings themselves are reversible, so you can make them as either like Nuka-Cola stands, or they can be like Wild West buildings for Dry Rock Gulch. And you can, like, if you get 2 of these starter sets and get double the buildings, you can build like 4 individual different buildings out of all of it. It's actually a really, really cool and neat way. It's really like infinity terrain. Overall, I love it. It comes with like cactuses and little mannequins with some barricades and some ramps and walls and like park maps and stuff. Overall, great addition and a great way to really like dive into this game and play it really easily. You get a playmat, which, 2x3 gives you a good area to play on. This is usually what we use when we play the game. You're going to get 10 dice. So you're going to get 6 reds and 4 of the like tealish colors. Those are part of the gameplay mechanics, where luck is the teal dice. You get less of those based off of your L stat within your character, and they can trigger critical effects on weapons. All right, so you're also going to get a ton of tokens in this set. So when it comes to tokens and like purchasing this, I really suggest going to Walmart or Michael's and getting like a little plastic bead organizer trays. They're really common in the hobby, and we use them for token organization. And I really would get one of these for this set. There's a lot of tokens involved. It comes with harm tokens as well as objective tokens and like your all types of just random stuff. So I would definitely get a token organizer just to keep those in so they stay nice and they don't get lost. Something really good to have on hand. It also comes with some really cool like dry erase tracking sheets, which are the 2 sheets you see right next to the rule book. You can write on these with dry erase markers and then erase them and then do new gangs on them. They're a really cool sheet itself. Now, just be aware though, if you leave your tokens and stuff on here for too long, or your markers on there for too long, they can kind of like get stuck, and it's not like, hey, I wipe it away right away. I like to keep little alcohol wipes with me, and I use those to like wipe down the little dry erase boards if we need to, and it really helps to kind of keep those clean and help make changes when you need to. Because guys in this campaign can get hurt, they can get damaged, they do lose stats, or they gain stuff. You have a money mechanic with caps as well as parts, kind of like the scrap mechanic within Fallout 4 that you have within this game to upgrade your weapons. So it's really good to have those on hand just so you can update these sheets, or you can use the tracking app within the Modiphius Fallout game app itself. So just keep that in mind. Now, for those of you who want other options, maybe like a less of a price point to get in or like a different look for your gang, there are some other ways to get into this game other than this 2-player starter set. So the first way to get in is to just buy the gangs individually. So the 3 up here are the 3 plastic starter gangs, the operators, the disciples, and the pack themselves. So these are kind of like your base gangs for the game. They were featured really prominently in Nuka World within the Fallout 4 game itself. Now, you can also buy some of the resin gangs that have rules within the game itself too. So the Cult of the Mothman from Fallout 76, which is like a base gang. Then you have like a gang hierarchy, and then like the actual moths themselves. So that is a higher like budget gang because you have to have the models to build the gang out, and then you have to have the moths too because the whole thing about that gang is they build up these like moth cult points, and then you summon this massive moth to just kill everything. That's kind of how that gang works. And then you have the Zadans, which are the aliens featured in Fallout 76. They have their little tall walkie suit dude, which is a guy in power armor basically. And then all the normal guys themselves. Looking at the sets, you're probably going to need at least 2 of the base like Zayton sets and then the power armor guy to be your leader. You also, besides those, they actually have official rules and PDFs that are available on the Modiphius websites. You do have get you buy rules for other gangs as well. So those include the Brotherhood of Steel, Super Mutants, Gunners, and the Survivors, which are basically like your normal like Fallout good guy factions. And then I think the generic raiders also have get you buy rules too. These are all resin gangs. They're kind of like a mismatch of stuff in some cases. Like the Super Mutants, you're going to have to buy more than just the base set. The Brotherhood of Steel, they can get by with the base set, but they have a plastic set coming out soon. Survivalists, you're going to need a couple different sets to build that gang out because the core set, you can't use half the models because it has like Preston Garvey and some other Minutemen characters in there that can't be used within factions itself. So you can use those, but they're not the best to use themselves. Now, in a recent expansion that came out, it's called the Companions basically guide, and it's a little PDF that came out. You can find it on the Fallout Factions website, and it lists all the different like companions your gang can get, which is pretty cool. So whenever you create a character within the gang, they either choose like robot or creature, and then they can take a companion model that has to stick around by them that follows those rules. So if you chose robot, you have to choose a robot. If you chose a creature, you choose creatures. So you can get like Mr. Frothies and stuff for the Starlight Diner faction or group of robots, or you can choose like the Mongrel Hounds, which we have up here. You can choose Bloatflies, Yogways. There's a whole bunch of different creatures in there that you can buy individual expansions for and add them to your gang. It'd be really cool. You take the Beast Pack, and then you take a group of these mongrel scavengers, and all of a sudden you got 6 dogs running around with your gang itself, which is kind of like really neat. Or you could take a Yogway with your Beast Pack, and then you just have a massive irradiated bear running around mauling people during the game, which is pretty neat. There's some cool robots in there that you can get, like the Mr. Frothies. You can get iBots kind of patrolling around shooting eye lasers. You can get Protectatrons, which is pretty neat. I know in the this year we're kind of resetting our Fallout faction campaign, and I'm really hoping to take some of these like Protectatrons and stuff with my operators, as well as like the mongrels with my Beast Pack. I think it'll be really cool additions into the game and something I'm looking really forward to within the expansions itself. Now, in a recent live stream, Modiphius showed off these 3 new expansions for the game. So you have the Brotherhood of Steel, the Brotherhood of Steel Apache Command, and the Survivor's Core Set. These are going to be brand new plastic kits that will be Fallout Factions compatible, that will give you new gangs and probably new rules to play within Factions itself, which is really cool because, like they said, they're going to balance out power armor a little bit, and you get a ton of like non-power armor guys with your Brotherhood of Steel set. And then in the Survivor set, you get a junk jet, which is pretty cool. Some really cool armored guys in there, like the Diamond City security guards in the baseball gear uniforms, and you get a doggo, which is great because regular dogs aren't in the companion thing. They said it's going to be a survivor-only type deal. So some super cool expansions are coming for this game itself. Wrapping it up, to get started in this game, you can either go with the 2-player starter set, or you can go with the one of the many other gangs that are within the faction packs itself, like the Operators, the Disciples, the Beast Pack, or the Zatans and other gangs that have come out in resin in other ways. Remember to check out the Modiphius website to get all the PDF updates for the game, as well as the Fallout Factions webpage to kind of learn more about the game itself, and subscribe down below to keep up with Fallout Factions news and updates and some of our hobby projects. So guys, thank you so much for watching here at Queen City Minis and more. We do appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe down below to help the channel out, and keep on coming back for some more Fallout Faction goodness. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for watching. Queen City Minis and more, signing out folks.